What's up, everybody? This is Cyrus, and I'm going to some deeper waters tonight, so I hope you have your life jackets handy. I had a discussion recently with one of the students in the Afterlife University classes about Buddhism, and it kind of got me thinking about why I moved away from Buddhist East religious thought, and why I definitely don't use that as a filter for like astral experiences, out-of-body experiences, and things like that. And I'm definitely going against the grain here, and I'm more than happy to hear rebuttals to what I have to say, different perspectives, especially even perspectives that may refute some of these interpretations, because I'd like to believe that at its heart, a lot of these concepts and philosophies is not quite like how I seem to think it is. So I'm more than happy to hear these alternative opinions, but I will state my conclusions about this subject, and some people may disagree with what I have to say, but that's okay. So probably about 10 or 15 years ago, and back then, no, I wasn't 10 years old back then. I'm a little bit older than I look. I was more into Vedanta, Buddhism, East religious thought, things like that. But slowly I moved away from some of these ideas. And a big reason why is just because I guess I kind of developed my own philosophy into life, and it's really helped a lot with, I think, all areas of life. And I'm going to explain that in a moment, and explain why I haven't been able to keep that on a solid footing with Eastern religious concepts, and why I really wouldn't even try, and almost why I feel like some of these ideas are borderline harmful in our interpretation of reality, or at least they can be, not always, but depending on how you interpret certain elements of Eastern religious concepts. So, the way I see it, kind of the way the programming I operate from, is that the best philosophy that we can obtain is to find a kind of loving appreciation for everything that we do. So, think of an example. What is something that's completely mundane? How about like a leaf? So some people would just look at a leaf and think, oh, it's just a piece of dead and decaying biological matter. But if you've learned to really develop a loving appreciation of everything that you do, everything you see, you can look at that leaf and see it as a beautiful thing. That you can look at the symmetry of how it's designed, the fact that it is composed of this very specific genetic code to create this shape, this formation, and it's part of nature, part of life. There's a lot that you can express, enjoy and love about something as innocuous as a leaf. Now you can expand this out to a lot of different things, and it makes life a lot more enjoyable. So imagine you go to a whole forest. Some people just, they see a forest and they just want to get out of the forest, get back in their car. If you're taking if you're like on a road trip. But for me, maybe I'll get out of my car and I'll take a look around and enjoy the freshness of the air, the systems of nature and how complex it is, the billions of organisms under my feet. The complexity of the environment, yet also the simplicity of the environment. There's so much you can kind of enjoy and explore, even in the most mundane things. But then you can apply that philosophy up to things which are not mundane, the things that you feel passionate about, or the people that you love and care about. Now, I've never had any kids. The ironic thing is that I probably lead a more closely Buddhist lifestyle than most Buddhists I know. I keep my attachments to a minimum. I sometimes live out of my backpack. I care more about philosophy, the pursuit of knowledge, than a lot of the worldly goals. But that being said, I wouldn't classify myself in that category. So, as I was saying, I don't have any kids, but one thing I learned from parents is how much they just love the uniqueness of their child, every tiny detail about them, that they have this immense love for them. And And I think you have to be a parent to fully appreciate this, but I can appreciate that just in people I know who are like close friends, people I really care about. And I think, you know, like this person I know so well, is this person's part of the universe. You know, they exist as a fundamental part of the cosmos, and maybe they always will exist. And you know, it's easy just to come from a place of love and appreciation of the people that you care about. And I'm always thinking along these lines, and I've applied it in, you know, in difficult situations. One time I had a very bad accident, and I had to learn to walk again. Now, it wasn't from like paralysis; it was more physical damage to bone, but nonetheless, I wasn't able to walk for a long time. I had to rely on other people caring for me. And it's easy for some people to look back at that experience and think it was traumatic and it was, you know, extremely painful and traumatizing. But I look back and think it was a nice experience. I got to relearn and reappreciate something so fundamental as being able to walk. And there was the challenge involved of getting over that injury. But I was able to do it and come out on the other side like more knowledgeable and with a greater appreciation of something new, which was something I used to take for granted, which is the ability to walk. And even while the experience was happening, I wasn't like, you know, feeling like the victim or feeling so upset or angry at the world. It's like, you know, I was riding that wave, and I just felt good about the whole experience, the whole process, and then the people I met along the way, the people who took care of me. You know, it was a positive experience, right? And then you can go into the philosophy of basically finding adventure in everything you do. So, you know, I travel a lot, and you know, there's so many like adventures that you can find yourself in, just going out in the world, meeting people, having experiences, learning from other people. That to me it's endlessly interesting. So life existence has endless content. It's this endless creative potential that we're all sharing and that we're all a part of, and that's what makes life so great. And getting into like the out of body stuff, the astral projection stuff, I have even a new expanded level, because it's like all the things I love here will keep on going. You know, I mean, to think of an example, puppies, you know, dogs barking. Yeah, that is a good example. You know, your favorite dog and your, you know, animal friends. The fact that, you know, we know that we can cross over to the next life, and we'll still be with them. We can think about, you know, how much we love our favorite animal growing up, and the idea that they are a part of the universe also, and they're not going away. We can continue to have adventures and experiences with them. Part of this philosophy is about even appreciating the bad stuff. So I had my accident, but you know, life has to have sometimes pain and challenge and difficulty, and that creates adventure and overcoming things and even glory. And so we can appreciate even the quote bad stuff, and all of this creates a very peaceful way of looking at life. And I think it does actually specifically apply to certain elements, at least on the surface level, of like Vedanta philosophy. People who do yoga as methods of learning to appreciate, you know, even the tiniest details and being able to meditate upon that, the way your body functions, for instance. So this kind of personal philosophy, it's not like it's at odds with Eastern religion, but I've come to find that Eastern religious thought tends to run away, and it begins a slow process of delegitimizing the things that I love and care about in existence. Okay? So certain paths, and I see these ideas echoed among very influential people. I'm talking about Deepak Chopra, I'm talking about Eckhart Tolle, as well as friends in the out-of-body experience realm who kind of came out of the Monroe Institute days. So people like William Bullman, people like Tom Campbell, even my friend Jürgen Ziwe, who bring up some info about him real quick. He wrote a book called Multidimensional Man, a book called Vistas of Infinity, and he's way more qualified as an author and out-of-body experience person than I am. But even with him, I see elements of the kind of Eastern religious thought that I have some issues with, and I'm going to get into that now. So basically, what I've come to find is that when Eastern religion, when the philosophies that the world is Maya, it's an illusion, and that attachment is suffering, when these concepts begin to evolve, we reach a point where people begin de-emphasizing existence itself. And so the long-term goal is to kind of be in a state of samadhi or nirvana, samadhi I suppose, and to be able to obtain that perpetually while diminishing or basically deleting everything else around you. So basically it's the idea of entering like a blissful state of union consciousness, source consciousness, while basically eliminating your own individual perception of yourself and then entering into that state forever. And this is kind of the goal that I've seen with a lot of influential people in this field. I think literally this is kind of what Eckhart Tolle espouses. And you do this through meditation and all these kind of spiritual practices, but it's a slow process of elimination of everything around you. So you love forests, forests are an attachment. You love dogs, dogs are an attachment. You love basic things in life. You love flowers. You love love. You love your children. Basically, this philosophy, the way I've been able to interpret it, the way that it seems like it's taught a lot, is that all the substance and the content of life, whether it's good or bad, instead of appreciating, learning to love everything, in creation, it's wiser to begin shutting everything down and entering just a permanent bliss state. And my issue with this is that it goes in a direct conflict with the kind of creative potential of the universe. So the universe is continually creating new things. Excuse me. It's an infinite amount of individual awarenesses. Every awareness is a personality that is unique to the cosmos. There's infinite potential to explore, and just meeting another soul, another person, is a tremendous blessing. You get to experience a unique microcosm of the cosmos and an individual soul. That to me is a beautiful thing. I would never get tired of that. Yet, especially in the topic of out-of-body experiences, astral projection, I hear people really de-emphasizing this process. And I'll give an example. And again, Jürgen Ziwe, he's a friend of mine. I recommend his work above my work. I wouldn't recommend people to first read my book, Understanding Life After Death. I would say go get Multi-Dimensional Man if you want to, learn about what the other side is like, what these experiences are like. But he said, kind of to paraphrase, that he's had less interest in the afterlife and the astral states lately. He thinks kind of these, no matter what dimension you're in, it's all kind of pointless. And reality itself, the concept of seeing things, touching things, all of that is basically just images on a screen. And these images don't matter. The only thing that matters is your state of consciousness and achieving this kind of high samadhi level of consciousness perpetually. Even if there's no longer being able to see things, look at things, touch things, none of that matters. What about relationships? What about people we love, care about? Attachments, I guess? Tom Campbell, who very influential esoteric author, claims to have out-of-body experiences. I don't think he really is. Says that basically our loved ones that we encounter must be some kind of illusion, because when we die we rejoin kind of source consciousness, and there wouldn't be loved ones around for us to meet again in the afterlife, because they all rejoin source consciousness. Again, there's no evidence to back this up. It goes against all my experiences, all the experiences of most reasonable people. But this is an evolution of certain Eastern religious thought. So it highly de-emphasizes relationships with other people. And it emphasizes the kind of becoming like a hermit. And I see this also sometimes with certain near-death experiencers. They experience this state of again samadhi or a kundalini rising experience, where they have They're showered with like bliss, divine love, and then their goal is just to go back to that state and then only exist in that state forever. To turn off the creative process of existence and just exist in a perpetual state of like samadhi or high level consciousness forever, while no longer doing anything else, like the perpetual meditation. And I think that people who think this way, they haven't really thought things through. So when we talk about higher entities, we talk about like entities coming down from higher realms and the higher consciousness of ourselves. People have experiences with like entities like Jesus. A lot of NDEs, they meet Jesus. You'll find that these higher level entities, well, they're not just existing in a state of perpetual bliss forever and ever and ever and ever. They're actually extremely active. If we were to believe like near-death experiences, it seems like Jesus is running around and he's appearing in like thousands of different people's experiences at once to help out thousands of people at any given time, at any given moment, because that seems to be his goal and desire, and he can maybe do that kind of thing on a high multi-dimensional level. So we don't see people as they raise in consciousness, as they become higher entities, like disappearing into a blissful state of consciousness and being done, essentially dying, no longer existing as individuals, and just withdrawing into this state of existence forever. We don't see that happening. So why do people here seem to want to go in that direction? And I think it's because of things that are taught in sects of like Vedanta and Buddhism, some elements of Hinduism, that encourage people to kind of like, it's an evolution of becoming the hermit who lives in a cave or goes out to the woods and meditates for 20 years. Complete disconnection from all of life and reality, and just entering into a consciousness state and withdrawing into that forevermore. So the things that I love and appreciate, whether it's talking about a leaf or another human being or experiences and challenges, the adventure of life, the idea behind certain Eastern religious thought is to just backpedal away from all of it and to just slowly phase out everything. So it's like a process of deletion. So this is why I think like Jürgen and other guys in the kind of East religious area who still subscribe to like out-of-body experiences, astral projection, to them it's kind of pointless even having experiences in other realms, because they don't have like the desire to explore and have adventure and be able to love and appreciate new things and new people. So to me, even though I disagree with humanism, like with its atheist tendencies, I'm also probably more of a humanist, because I find that just a supreme, endless amount of significance in each individual soul. But if somebody doesn't have any desire to do those things or explore those things, then it doesn't matter what kind of beautiful realm you might be in, and what kind of like amazing sights you might be seeing, and whether you're in some sublime dimension, or whether you're in a castle floating in the sky, or who knows. There's so many endless possibilities, but it doesn't matter, because you may not have any desire to explore those things or do those things, because all of it's pointless. All that matters is just entering into this kind of higher level consciousness state and just being in that state forever and turning it all off. In a way, ending it all. A kind of cosmic suicide, if you ask me. So the solution to this is begin enjoying the process of life. The people you meet, the experiences you have, and learn to love and meditate on those things. In my book, The Afterlife and Beyond, I call this philosophy elementalism. Find the elemental concept of everything you do, meditate and appreciate and love it. So find the specific feeling that a person creates for you and learn to appreciate and love that. Find the specific feeling you get when you're in the woods and you loved the dew, the mist, the smell of like the ozone and the trees and the plant life and the insects and the animals. Find the essence of that and then learn to meditate and love and enjoy that. So don't be trying to transcend and just eliminate, quote, attachments, because attachments are not an issue and attachments are not suffering. And a low level interpretation of attachments are suffering. It's the feeling of scarcity that is suffering. Because when you love something, you're afraid you're going to lose it, then you feel you have suffering. But if you know that through cosmic principles that we don't actually lose anything and everything that we love continues, then you have nothing to lose, and then you can be in a state of abundance. So we can toss out this idea that attachments are bad. Because this could be the fundamental issue, is that when people continually feel that attachment is bad, attachment is suffering, they run away with that idea until soon life becomes a matter of deletion. Get rid of everything but your own mind, or not, no, I'm sorry, no, you get rid of the mind. That's the most important, is to get rid of the mind, and you get rid of everything, and just enter just a state of kind of unity consciousness, clear of thoughts, clear of substance, and clear of experience, because the idea is just to enter this kind of tranquil existence and get rid of all the nonsense and just be pure consciousness forevermore. And to me, it's bullshit. I know. Okay, now I've dropped a bomb here, but that's bullshit. Because from the state of pure consciousness, from the state of being source consciousness, you will not turn off the universe's creative impulse and creative drive to perpetually create new things. You really can't get away with telling an artist these things. And I'm kind of an artist, and I would never buy into this idea that the creation process needs to end and we must just enter this one higher level of consciousness, and that everything, that reality around us are just images on a screen, that the things we see, do, experience, none of it matters. Nope. You're not going to convince me that. You're not going to convince any creative person that. And the people who do feel this way, I think that they really need to step out of the house more and begin having more creative experiences and learn kind of the way source consciousness operates. Sometimes it gets its hands dirty and it creates experiences that are not always so on the surface positive, Sometimes if you go on an adventure, you go traveling, you have bad experiences, you get sick, or you get robbed, or bad things will happen to you. But in the grand scheme of things, like when you have an adventure, it's the whole story that takes place. It's amazing. And this is why we love fiction films so much. Even when we have antagonists, you have challenge and danger. Like, our souls want that kind of stuff. It's interesting to us. It's exciting to us, and there's limitless potential. So we can live a life of endlessly appreciating new things and wondrous things and exploring life. Or we can lead a life of deleting everything, interpreting everything as attachments, and entering a mono-existence of entering a sublime consciousness and never leaving that state and just being there forever and ever. Is it a combination of both? Can we enter a sublime level of consciousness and go do all the things in life, all the content and substance? Probably. And that's probably what Buddha really was talking about. That's, I think, what Eastern religion is really supposed to be about. And that's probably closer to an accurate perception. And you can probably arrive at that point by learning to appreciate and love everybody and everything. But I think that the wrong way to go is to believe that we need to shut everything off. I think that this is not only is a path to nowhere, it's a path to real death. I'm in the business of life after death, and the deletion of the individual self, being to be replaced by non-identified source consciousness, and the removal of all things, including the images on the screen, existence and reality around us, is moving into a state. Even though we could say it is all-encompassing existence, it is also at the same time non-existence. So it is moving into a state of true death. And I have no interest in going that path. But if you want to go on that path, I'm not stopping you. Go ahead and do it. But I didn't not warn you either. All right. Well, this is Cyrus. If you like what I have to say, please hit subscribe and keep this tiny lackluster channel going. But we have a big community on Facebook, Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. A couple of books floating around. I have classes. You can find all that in the description of this video by clicking on Show More. And that's about it. Thanks for staying in touch. Please let me know what you think and where I went wrong in this video, because I'm happy to be refuted, because I don't really like the idea that everything I just said is really what people seem to believe in this field or in that philosophy, but I think it kind of is how it is. But I'd be happy to hear a rebuttal as well. All right, we'll talk to you guys next time.